All right, let's kind of get to the big thing here. I think we all agree, we're in agreement here that Utah's passing game or lack thereof was largely the biggest contributing factor to their struggles yesterday, right? I think we all agree there,
Absolutely.
and yeah, and so with that, like what do we think is going on with the passing game? Like, where do we think the core issue is? What do we think is just going on with Utah's passing game right now?
I don't know. Like I was thinking about that the entire game. Like it's hard because like there's so many different things that go into it. One of my biggest gripes during the game was the play calling. It's especially starting early. I think when they were backed up like around their, I don't know, like 10, 12 yard line, it was third and 4, and we're calling a 2-on-3 wide receiver screen. Like guys catching the ball behind the line. Like that was one of those plays where I was kind of like scratching my head, like, what are we doing? Like this, like I don't know if Beck was a little preoccupied with Texas Tech's front seven and trying to set up like something outside and get athletes in space. I don't know. It was just one of those things where I just kept thinking like we were too concerned with Texas Tech's front seven that we kind of went away from what was successful the first 3 weeks. And again, that's running the ball, and that's getting Devin out in space and kind of picking, not dinking and dunking, but kind of picking apart short yardage stuff, like short yardage throws. It kind of seemed like because we were too concerned with like how the Texas Tech's front seven was going to be, that we just like swung so far the other way that it just like it's not what has been successful for the past 3 weeks. And obviously it's not going to be successful when it's the first time really doing it 4 weeks into the season.
Yeah, it felt like we kept just trying to throw the quick out routes and things like that. We didn't try to touch the middle of the field. We didn't try to throw it more at Bentley. It got really frustrating to watch those 4 and 5 yard routes that we just hit over and over again. We never turned it up a notch and gave it like, hey, let's try to push it just 8 yards at a time, right? Give it a little bit more. So I thought we weren't aggressive enough on the throw game, and it just kind of got to that point that we were just trying to play it safe and play not to lose kind of thing. I don't know, it's cliche to say, but we got so far away from allowing our pass game to be a threat. I think they were totally fine giving us those 4 and 5 yard out routes, and there was a moment where it was third and longer, maybe like 8 or 9, and you throw a 4 yard route, and it's like you got to at least give yourself a chance to get a first down and keep the drive alive. Like you can't rely on a missed tackle against a team as talented as that. You can't rely on the yak, might not be there, especially on the outside. We don't have much room to run. Tyson's point, the 2v3 screen, like that's just not going to work.
And like the thing too with a lot of these out routes, it's a long throw. Like those are fairly long throws, which take time, and that's just more time for the DB or the linebacker, whoever it is, the defender, to get to the guy with the ball, and harder for the guy who's catching the ball to make it miss, because like you're waiting, you get it, and the angle's just such an odd thing to try and make a move out of. Like, if you want to make someone miss, like you want to become like a quick throw coming in where you have some momentum and you can kind of go based off of where you're already going. If you're going out far away and you're trying to turn it up, like again, I've been in those situations. That's a really hard play to make as a receiver.
Yeah. And to your guys' point is, all of these attempts, right, added up. And you look at Dampier's completion percentage, pretty solid day, 66%, but 4 yards an attempt is incredibly bad efficiency. Like just awful. You're not doing anything. You're not generating any sort of threat down the field to give in fact, you're inviting them more and more up the field. Like that was the frustrating thing about it is, they would take a couple shots here and there, sailed some throws, but just never really tried to attack the intermediate. To your point, Bennett, like try a 5 yard 8-yard, 10-yard out route. Like, why are we trying these speed outs at 2 and 3 yards depth? Why are we running, screens, to your point, Tyson, 2-on-3 screens? And again, it was, I think he finished 22 of 24 on throws, either within 5 yards or behind the line of scrimmage. And like, that's great if you're just out athleting teams and you're generating a ton of yak. But against this Texas Tech defense, you're not going to be able to do that because they have great athletes on that side of the ball in the defensive secondary that made plays. And you've got to put them on their heels. And Utah didn't. They just invited them continually to creep closer and closer to the line of scrimmage even, and to play more and more on their toes. And that's dangerous if you're Utah.
And Tyson, you said it in the channel. You said the horses were there, the ball wasn't. I think that was a big piece of it. We had our wide receivers getting open, creating that separation. We kind of just went away from it and didn't even look at it after a certain point in the game. It felt like, you had that play with Jackson Benny. Why didn't that come up at any other point in the game?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it worked once. You have Merriweather getting open, like wide open, 4.4 speed. He catches that. He's gone, right? Like, it felt like the wide receivers were there and ready to make the plays. We just got to get that ball in the basket.
Like,
yeah.
even show it. Just show it. Like, to go back to it and just like show that you're willing to throw it 20, 30 yards downfield. Now, it might not be a completion, but if it's a completion, great. You get an offense or a defensive pass interference, even that's great too. But if you're not even willing to attempt it, Texas Tech can just pin their ears back.
Yeah.
Pin your ears back, play downfield. Like, you don't need
Yep.
to worry about a guy getting behind you because they're not going to throw it to him.
Yeah, the dagger in the game, they took a deep shot. They didn't get it. They went right back the very next play, same spot, same sideline, and they got it. Like, we put that on the shelf. Even the thought of trying to push the ball down the field, we put that on the shelf and never really pushed the ball. And that's got to change. In my eyes, that's got to change.
No, absolutely.
Like,
I'm interested
so
to see
vital.
I'm interested to see what went wrong on the wide open Tobias Merriweather miss.
Yeah.
Because Devin missed that so bad that I'm like 90%, 95% sure that Merriweather was supposed to be running a corner.
That's what
I think he got tapped, realizes there's nobody in front of me. I'm just going to keep running straight.
Yeah. So that's the
and
thing
and hope Devin sees me, but he'd already thrown the ball.
Based on the look, I understand what Merriweather is thinking. He's seeing wide open field in front of him. To me, I felt like he was running a vertical and bending it out to the numbers, right? So he's running from the slot, lined up close to the hash marks, and he's trying to bend it while still getting vertical. Because if he stays vertical and Devitt puts it out in front of him, he's going to walk into the end zone. Nobody's going to catch him. But I think the call probably was a corner route, and Dev, thinking that he's going to break out, put it where he thought he should put it. And that's what I think that's important to understand, is Devin is throwing to spots, right? And I think there's got to be improvement in terms of the placement of those spots for him with his accuracy. That's certainly something that needs to improve. But we've seen him execute those throws, right? We just watched it last week against Wyoming. We saw him make some great throws down the field, the JJ catch, the Larry Simmons touchdown, right? We've seen it. We know it's there. It's just there was some sort of miscommunication. I think Merriweather even got bumped by Benny breaking inside. And so maybe Davis, that probably contributed to why Merriweather wasn't able to get outside. But I would be curious to learn exactly what the issue was there. What sort of miscommunication was it, or what, just what it was? What was the issue on that play?
We, again, like you said, we've seen Devin make those throws. We've seen Devin make accurate throws. Like, anybody who wants to harp on his, accuracy, I don't think really has a leg to stand on. He's sailed some throws and he's had at times hasn't been accurate, but to miss a guy by 10 yards, I have a really hard time believing that was just that bad of a throw.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I could have, if I knew that's where Merriweather was going, I'm not missing him by 10 yards. And I've played quarterback once in my life and I was 12. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I don't see a world where Dampier didn't think he was going to break outside. That's just me though.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, because based on the coverage, right, the cornerback stayed up with Davis. It was single high. There was no safety even to that side of the field. He was open. Like for me, I understand what Merriweather is thinking if he's trying to just get vertical, but at the same time, like if you're Devin, like you're just trying to place it where you're supposed to, and anticipating Merriweather breaking outside if it was a corner.
And he was under pressure too. Like this wasn't Devin just like sitting in a clean pocket and throwing the ball to where he thought the guy was, like, he had to get rid of it there. He had it right in his face. So like if he's got pressure, he's just going to throw it to where he at least knows the receiver is going to go. Like, he knows the play is good. That's why I'm like, again, I'm 95% positive that was supposed to be a corner route, especially with the way that Davis was breaking on a post. You're crossing guys up and you're going one guy one way, one guy going the other way. You're not going vertical with the guy going underneath you. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I'd be curious to learn about that. I'll probably ask Coach Whittingham about that tomorrow at his press conference. So, with that, I think they talked about it on the broadcast, but we all saw the picture of Devin Dampier earlier in the week with his ankle wrapped, and I think I brought it up with somebody brought it up to me actually, and said that it wouldn't be a big deal, but I would be surprised if that ankle wrap didn't impact him and even Coach Beck to some degree with his ability to execute certain things, with how sharp or unsharp he was on Saturday. I would, and knowing Devin and talking to the people around him, there was no way Devin wasn't going to play in that game, regardless of what his foot, how much pain he was dealing with. He was going to play in that game. I think that's something that we need to keep in mind with these guys, is that they're going to go out there, they're going to give it their all. We've Devin in particular, I think, has that sort of mentality, and he understands how much Utah football means to this community. And I think, he's going to take his performance pretty personally. I think he's going to work exponentially harder this week to correct some issues, to correct and improve on some things this week. And I think that's going to be the key for him, right? I think there's a lot of questions about his ability now after Texas Tech, but I think we need to give Tech credit for being a really good defense. And we also need to understand the context that maybe Dev wasn't fully 100%, and maybe that impacted some things. And then three, his mentality, I think he's going to be the type that learns from this and is determined to improve on this. Like, hearing from him in the post-game presser, he was short. You could tell he was stewing quite a bit on that performance. And I think he's the type that understands, again, how much this program means to everybody here and wants to get Utah back to what we know it as.
I promise you nobody's going to be harder on Devin Dampier than Devin Dampier.
100%.
As a former football player, I know exactly where his head's at. Like, nobody's going to be more pissed at himself than himself. Like, and again, as a former player, we're not very smart people when it comes to physical health. Like you said, no, and like Devin's ankle would have had to been hanging off his leg by a thread for him not to play yesterday.
According to someone I talked to tonight that's close with Devin, he literally said, I wrote it down, you would have to cut off his foot for him not to play. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because almost word for word what my guy said.
Yeah, look, we're like, football players are not gonna. Okay, you're gonna talk about the NFL is probably a little bit different because they have millions of dollars on the line. I get that. But college, especially like when you're playing at that level and playing, like you said, for the community, for the school, like if you are physically able to step on a football field, like you're not going to not play. And again, the other thing is Devin's going to be the first person to tell you that his ankle was not an excuse for how he played. And
100%.
he'll tell you that too, whether, how much of an effect it had on him. He knew that going into the game, and he
Yep.
knows how to try and work around that. But again, it just speaks to him as a football player and as a teammate that, he still went out there and gave his best, and he's going to be the one to tell you that he's going to take this loss and work and get better and figure it out. Like, again, nobody's going to be harder on Tevin Dampier than himself. So I fully trust in him to take this next week as a kind of a get right week for him.
Yeah. And I just want to add some flavor and kind of echo some of the stuff you're saying. It's nobody's going to wear this heavier than him. He's, a lot of the offense, it all starts with the offense, the loss. And, the offense starts with him, and he understands that. He's been dealing with naysayers, going back to recruiting out of high school, this measurable, that measurable, whatever. He's been dealing with that. He's not shy from that. This is one of those moments. I think he's the type of guy that will take this personally, use it as fuel to the fire, and onward and upward. We know that he can make these throws. We've seen these throws. The throws that he made in that Wyoming game, we said it then, say it again. Some of those touchdown throws, they translate to anything. It's just, it was a bad game.
Yeah.
Don't let it define the whole season. And he won't. I believe that.
Yeah.